Morning. Come allez-vous? How are you? G'day, mate. Hello. How are ya? How's your mum? Hey, welcome to Forex.Today, the YouTube community. 20,000, almost 20,000 foreign exchange traders gathered all around the world. We gather here today to conduct technical and fundamental analysis for trade planning. That being said, let me remind you that trading is risky and not appropriate for everyone. Your past performance is not indicative of future results. Please stay small, stay humble, focus on the long term. Never risk money you cannot afford to lose. My name is Wayne. Hey, how was your weekend? I hope you had a nice weekend. I hope you reviewed your charts. I hope you reviewed last week's trades. I hope you identified your strengths and weaknesses and have a specific plan on how you're going to improve this week. We got a lot going on. FOMC, retail sales, for example. Meanwhile, Bitcoin's falling like a ton of bricks with two hammers on it. But here's the interesting thing. Apparently, Binance is not able to give people their Bitcoin. They don't have it or something. So there might be lots of pent-up sales that haven't even hit the Bitcoin market. So imagine Bitcoin's falling. I think it's down like 13% today. But maybe a whole bunch of sellers haven't been able to sell, so it hasn't even started yet, or maybe there's more to go. And like we said, when we're at 30,000, there's no reason why it can't be 20,000 or even 10. So we'll see where we are in that process. So lots of interesting things going on this week. Also, one of them with the high inflation print we had last week. Big question is, will the Fed raise by 50 basis points on Wednesday and then announce maybe they're thinking 1% or, a full percentage point. So for the next meeting in September. So anyways, lots of interesting things to discuss. So make sure you ask questions. We'll also do technical analysis, but typically on Monday, we talk about these fundamentals and then we go into the calendar and all that kind of stuff. So let me know how I can help and I will do my best. Now, my means of helping are doing these live streams, which I have been doing for about, 15, 16, no, actually more than that, 18 years. So that's one way. A second way, if you look in the description below, there's a link to my book. In the description below this video, there's a link to fxbootcamp.com, which will teach you technical and fundamental analysis, day trading, swing trading, technical analysis like all the different indicators and how to take control of your trading. There's macroeconomics, there's monetary policy. $88 buys you 65 hours. 65 hours of training videos. So anyways, those are resources you need. Also, every single one of us needs a trustworthy, ethical foreign exchange broker with low fees, fast execution speed, and big swaps. And all of those are found at tradersway.com. I've been with tradersway.com for many years now. And right around the time of developing the relationship, we were hit by that surprise pull of the Swiss Franc peg to the euro. Big brokers went out of business because apparently they were trading against their clients. And they got caught holding the bag. Brokers were going out of business, so I'm like, oh my God. So I contacted Traders Way and I'm like, how you guys doing? What's going on? Are you guys okay? And they're like, yeah, we're okay. I'm like, really? You're like, yeah, we're totally fine. We actually executed all the trades. Oh my God, I love you. Okay. So anyways, tradersway.com. The link is in the description below. Open up a demo account, see if they can earn your loyalty and respect. Let them prove themselves to you. So we got an interesting, busy day. Couple of things. We've been looking for US dollar strength, and we have continued US dollar strength. So that's good. I'm benefiting from that. We have now suddenly yen strength as well. Is that a risk-off move? Maybe. But in the day trading group last night, because we meet on Sundays when the market opens, pre-Asia, And one of the things we discussed is watch oil. And if oil comes down, last night I expected yen to strengthen, and oil came down and yen strengthened. All right, so that's an interesting thing, but that's for today. Will that continue? Will oil prices continue to come down? Will yen continue to be strong? And in relation to that, what about the qualitative and quantitative easing employed right now by the Bank of Japan? So is it up today and down the rest of the week? Well, we'll have to see. It really depends on oil. Are we adding supply? If we're adding supply, then oil prices would come down. Or is the presumed future recession that is expected to hit the United States later this year, early next year, is that being priced in now, which is another way of saying are gasoline and oil prices so high that it's destroying demand? Well, that's the big question. So maybe oil prices are down today, but maybe up, right? So maybe down, we're at 119, maybe it comes down to 117, 115, and then maybe there's a big rally all the way up to 135, 140, or 150 the rest of the year. How would you be able to make that decision? Fundamental analysis of the energy complex. And then you have to correlate that to how does that impact foreign exchange? And of course, that's our conversation day in and day out. Other things going on, Great British Pound coming down like a ton of bricks. Well, again, that was something that seemed fundamentally likely. Even when it was strong, the thing we have been talking about is the Bank of England saying, hey man, we expect a recession. We expect job loss. We expect GDP destruction, and we expect continued high commodity prices for food and for energy. Hey, that sucks for the Great British Pound. And so anyway, so now it's suddenly weak. Well, that makes sense. And if you kind of did your fundamental analysis, you would understand that. Aussie kind of weak right now, or waiting. A little more COVID problems in China again. Kiwi coming down. Maybe what? Are dairy prices coming down, or are they going up? Euro. Hey, we thought they were going to raise by 50. They're only raising by 25. What's up with that? So euro looks weak relative to a lot of other things. Swissy was strong, but maybe now weak again. Well, what does the Swiss National Bank want? And what side of the trade do you want to be on? And then Kitty CAD, up, down, up, down. It's kind of flat, maybe right now a little bit up. Well, how does that relate to the world at large and the global economy? Does that make sense? Yeah, perhaps. So we'll see. And if CAD's going up, is that an assumption of what? An improved Canadian economy? Maybe. CAD going up, is that assumption of what? That the U.S. is okay? Or is it an assumption that commodity prices, although are coming down today, are still generally very high and maybe expected to go back up in the future? Well, you have to make those decisions. Macroeconomics helps you do that. And then you put that into your model and you say, hey man, I'm a bull on CAD. Or you're neutral on CAD, or you're bearish. So today we're going to look at gold, oil, and Bitcoin for sure. In particular, Bitcoin. Like I said in the open, Bitcoin down 12, 13%. But many of the sellers, Binance is a pretty big exchange. Many of the sellers may not have been able to execute their sell trades. So even though we're looking at 23,000, maybe it's going to fall significantly more throughout the day. I don't know. That's not a prediction. But again, some people have been trying to sell Bitcoin on Binance and haven't been able to get out of their positions. So maybe there's pent-up selling yet to be executed. So we got a very interesting day. Welcome to Forex.Today. Let's start with commodities. Okay. And let's take a look at my WTI, kind of look at here. And this is what we have going on today. Okay, how are you going to play this price? It depends. Did you sell here last week? And do you think some form of this today? Now, I'm going to stay bullish on oil, which means I'm going to ignore the lower low and lower high, not sell it. And maybe if we get around here, 117, I'll start taking a look at it from a long point of view. Doesn't mean I'll be trading it today or tomorrow, but maybe. Maybe I'll wait for FOMC. Okay, if the Fed raises by 50 or even 75 or even 1.00, that could have an immediate impact on WTI because, again, if the Fed has a higher terminal rate, expected terminal rate, or increases their velocity of getting to that rate, the only thing that would bring WTI down is the assumption of future demand destruction. But the Fed could jack up by 50 basis points, 75 basis points, or 100 basis points, and that won't impact supply. So you got to break it down. Is it a supply issue or is it a demand issue? So, for example, is this happening because supplies are increasing? Well, we get this data all the time. We have to pay attention. On Fridays, there's rig counts. On Wednesdays, there's inventories. So if supply is going up, it comes down. If you're like, well, wait, I looked at it and it doesn't seem to be anything radically changed there, then the question is demand. Okay? On the short run, demand might be fixed. On the long run, it may not be. And if it's being destroyed because of high interest rates, stock market falling, all that kind of stuff, negative impact on household wealth effect, okay, then it's a whole different story. So we'll see. So once again, decisions must be made. So right now, you might look at this and say, is that a supportive price, 119? Is that a floor for future up? Well, you'd have to look at that from a bullish point of view. Okay? Bears are probably thinking more like this. So probably a retest of here or a play off the moving averages. Meaning like that. Because remember, if you're a bear, you already know you want to sell. It just comes down, you don't know the time, but there are prices. So you're like, what price would I sell crude oil if I was going to be a seller? 120? Okay. Or maybe you're looking at something like this. So in that case, as a bear, you got a plan A and a plan B. Set it up, knock it down, or step aside. Okay? Gold, in terms of dollars, is coming down, but dollar is strong. So maybe gold is neutral. Okay? And now we got to look at our at Bitcoin. Oh my God. We're now at 121 and falling. So maybe those sell orders have kicked in and dropped it, because the last time I looked it was 23,000. Oh, I guess here it's 23,000. So maybe we're heading down. Sorry, I thought that 4 was a 1. No, so we're still stuck at 23. Like I said, there might still be some sell orders in this market that have not been executed. Or maybe people are like, man, what I've always wanted was to buy it at 24 or 25. Is that what they're thinking? Well, weeks ago, or what, last week? 2 weeks ago, I think, we were talking about what's the next buy. And this is that old peak where Bitcoin went from 1,000 all the way to 20,000 and then collapsed all the way down to 3,000. Okay? So this would be the most logical, point of interest, not what we would call as potential support. But also when we were here talking about 20, because if you remember, as we came back down from 40 to 30, I said, somebody said, well, the next top is, the next level of support is 20. And I said, yeah, I totally agree with it and I get it. And I just remembered it, and as many of you probably do as well. And I said, well, so let's take a look. And I said, well, here's here. But if this is a reset of the market, why not even 10? And that's more of a grasp at straw than anything, right? But more like, what are the two levels of potential support? And that is historically significant. And then this is psychologically significant. And when everyone is getting out and looking around, why not 10? Especially now we just went from 30 to basically, probably on our way to 20. Okay? Why not 10? And you're like, well, it's support and all that kind of stuff. But remember, this is a highly correlated market. And I broke down the decline in the stock market in two ways. One, inflation rising, so it kills valuation models, val models, okay? And the second one is recession. So if a recession's coming, it's going to bring down, let's say, earnings per share or profits or cash flow or free cash flow or whatever you're measuring in the corporation. So again, if you're like, I don't know what this is. Okay, so if there's a recession next year and people lose jobs, what's the likelihood they're going to buy a $1,000 brand new iPhone versus just sitting on their whatever iPhone they have now? And they make their iPhone last. They fix the screen and they wait. Well, that means Apple has less sales. Okay, more so sales fall. Inventory rise. Maybe they cut prices, all that kind of stuff. But that means less money, and therefore the stock market comes down even more. So, like, why not? Go from 4K to 3K. Okay. And therefore, if that's happening, and by the way, I kind of predicted some of this last year. Remember, we said down in the early part, sort of a false recovery in the second quarter, and then third and half of the fourth quarter, kind of like not up and kind of down. Mostly down. I said a long, slow fizzle and then a big pop at the end. So if all of that is coming somewhat true and the stock market is going to fall another 1,000 points on the S&P 500 between now and the fourth quarter, then how the hell is Bitcoin going to recover? And we can say, well, if we hit 20,000 this week, then why not 10K over the next 5 months? You see what I mean? So Luis says, oh my Lord, it's time to buy Bitcoin. Yeah, maybe around 20. But again, the thought process is, okay, maybe, and maybe it bounces here and you take a shot and you use your stops appropriately. But fundamentally, if the stock market's going to have 5 more months of, let's say, mostly down, I don't mean sharp down, although it's happening now, but more like maybe a sharp down and sort of a kind of like this till the end of the year, then why not 10K on Bitcoin? Why not? And therefore, you got to be careful here. I think, if I was a full-time crypto trader, I might, if I can get the higher high, higher low, what we call a hammock, a double bottom, higher high, higher low on a small time frame on Bitcoin, like not daily, but let's say on a 1 hour, Why not take a shot around 20K? Well, that's a trade. Totally worth it, and you never know. But that's not really a strategy, is it? So again, when I look at what I think is going to happen, global macro, S&P 500, risk, fear, monetary policy, political election, all of that goes into my model. And I'm like, okay, I might take a shot at 20K, but I don't feel very confident in that. And, 10, why not? And therefore, be careful, Louise. Okay? What do you think, guys? Is this helpful or at least interesting conversation? If so, would you please click the like button? Boy, just for once, wouldn't it be nice to have 500 thumbs up? 500 likes? Why not? Okay. Thank you, Lesso. Okay. By the way, it's Monday morning. I've already spent like 15 hours trading, huh? Well, by trading, 99% of that is, analysis and careful thought. Okay. All right, so let's go through the dollar pairs, yen pairs. Okay. Euro. Okay. Euro last week, we were disappointed by the ECB. A slow response. Down, back to the moving average. Down. Okay. And we were talking about this in the day trading group, the reason for the down and how to stay bearish in an out of position trade and all that kind of stuff. And since last night, it's down even more. So roughly speaking, let's move my stop. I'm about 200 and something pips profit on euro dollar. Sweet. Take a look at Aussie. Some of this news obviously is bullish on USD. I mean, that's the reason for buying. But we had set this up, it took us about a week or whatever this was to set up that head and shoulders. We talked about this probably over the course of 4 days, setting this thing up. And then now dollar strong is bringing it down, but also probably helping this is COVID numbers seem to be kicking up again in China and maybe slowing down the reopening, or at least the expectation of that. So pay attention to China. So this one is less good. This one's about 125 pips maybe. Okay. Cool. Taking a look at Kiwi. Okay. There's 2 trades on here. And again, this is just a 15-minute chart going back to last week. Okay. ECB meeting in here. But anyways, I guess the ECB meeting is over here. Down. Okay. Up. Okay. That's a lower high, lower low, retracement, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Is this another lower high? Well, it can go a little higher. Typically, I would look around in here, but we'll see. Again, if the stock market's coming down, US dollar is probably going to be strong. If China's, if recovery is slow, then that might impact Kiwi. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the dairy auctions are this week, so maybe we get some new information about demand for New Zealand exports. Okay. I would think prices are up, but, this is this. Now, maybe Kiwi's neutral and US dollar is strong. Gotcha. So maybe just lucky there, but there's 2 trades. One is, 100 pips, and the other one's probably about 125. Take a look at pig, dog, piggy, piggy, piggy. Okay, this goes back. Again, our discussions are Great Britain going into recession. So even when pound was strong, I was a bear. Okay, so you have this lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower, 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 low, lower high, lower low, lower low, 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 low. So the question is, do I take some profit here on a weekly basis? Okay. Now, in the day trading group last night, in analyzing, do I get out at the M2 and expect up? And we talked about, if you're lost in the woods, what do you do if you have a map and a compass? Well, you have to figure out where this journey started before you can figure out where you should be going. And so in here where I had to make a decision, do I get out at support, weekly and monthly support, or do I let it drop more? And I said, well, if you look at this, it says that. So there might be a few pips left on this. Maybe not, okay, because this is pretty close. And, how many pips is that one? Let's measure that. That one is 350 pips. Okay. Okay. All right. Fine. Good. Great. And then USD Swiss Franc. Again, I'm a bear on Swiss Franc because that's what Switzerland wants. How many people here remember weeks and weeks and weeks ago, I was explaining that we need to do our part to help rich Swiss people stay rich, because the poor rich people, okay, right? The rich people in Switzerland don't know how to be poor. We need to help them. Do you guys remember that? How many people here remember that? I'm like, come on, we need to all chip in and help the rich people of Switzerland. They don't know how to be poor. They need our help. Luis does? Nobody else? Geez, I try to do these analogies and these stories and paint these pictures and hope that I can anchor them. Oh, you do? Cool. So anyways, that's great. So anyways, this is happening right now. That's great. So maybe this is a new floor. That's great. Maybe we're riding moving averages. That's great. And to measure that one, that trade, that's 125 pips. Okay. Nice, right? So take a look, roughly speaking, about 1,000 pips, which is great because it was 750 pips last night, so I'm up another 250 pips since last night, so in 12 hours. Cool. And by the way, that's just a model. You'll notice that it's all buying dollars and really doing nothing else. Yeah. Okay. When it comes to yen, we've been talking mostly about oil prices and yield curve control. And in the environment we're having in the last few days, we would expect down. Okay. I think if we continue watching oil prices, this is just based on my let's say ideas or my bias or my strategy or my analysis, the conclusion of my analysis is that maybe oil prices go back up and all that kind of stuff. And bond yields rise. And, there's a couple of things going on in Japan that will impact all of this. And I'll watch those things with maybe the anticipation of that. But that's based on yen. Right now, kind of Aussies getting hit and Kiwis getting hit. Everything, as you noticed when I looked at the indices, there's a lot of things that are somewhat weak and then very weak. So this right now isn't really a good opportunity to buy risk on. This is a risk off moment. Okay? But this isn't risk on either. And that's the big thing, the understanding why. And again, in the swing trading group and the day trading group, I break all of this down with the train of thought and the analysis of actual data to wrap our head around why these things occur. And could this come all the way back down like this? Oh, yeah. In fact, when we were up here, what we were talking about is the standard operating procedure way to think about this based on price and time. And by the way, this is in the swing trading course. So if you're liking everything I I'm saying you need to join FX Bootcamp for $88. And you would know, for example, that this often leads to that. So you wouldn't be shocked about the down, which means you could trade it, but I'm not really a counter trend trader. But now I'm sitting around going, well, what price and time would we resume trend? And price and time is helpful, but I also have to look at things like WTI price and exports minus imports, and even yield curve control out of the BOJ before I really kind of go for it, you know? And then I take that thought process and I apply it to everything. Okay? Everyone's getting out of Great Britain. Okay? So is this a yen issue? I don't think this is a yen issue. I believe this is a pound issue. And once again, even when it was going up the whole time, I'm like, hey man, fundamentally, this probably means down. Just you have to do some analysis to figure out when that is. Is it the double top? Is it the lower low? Okay. And now you may have missed your opportunity for the trade of the day, but you might have been thinking up. But the thing is, as it was going up, I was teaching that yes, I see it going up, but it's probably supposed to come down. So I don't really care if you're a bull or a bear, but if you're a bear, you probably caught that. If you're a bull, I hope it knocked you out and you're not just holding a position going the wrong way. So it's one of these issues like, you know, when do you put together your strat? Okay, anyways. So that's coming down, great. I probably won't buy that even if yen gets weak. Why? Because I'm fundamentally bearish on the Great British Pound, and I have been for a while. Okay, what do you think about CAD? Well, I'm fundamentally bullish on CAD still, unless the United States really does go into recession. Okay, right now it's only talk, but it's coming down. So again, price and time, like how would I feel if this came back to 103? Okay, well, that might be a good price based on my analysis of the market. Fundamentally, currently, I'm still bullish on here. Fundamentally, I understand why yen is strong. So if I get down here and it does one of these things, a little pop, well, then I'll say, okay, I think this should go down. I think this should go up. I think this is the right price. And technical analysis helps me at the price, but also at the time. But I put this stuff first. So I already want to buy this. It's falling. I don't buy falling markets. So what price would I consider it? And at what time would I take it? Well, that price is reasonable, but it could be down here. So that's why I got to use technical analysis. And the second thing, at what time? Well, the time I see a reversal pattern at my price. Done. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Exotics, dollar strong right now. That's bad for emerging markets because their debt is priced in dollars. Okay. Now, Mexico, there was an article over the weekend talking about how really great of a position Mexico is in politically. That's cool. But maybe it's not a good time to buy peso. Maybe. And we started buying peso like way back in here, way back in here, way back in here. I think even in here, in the swing trading group. And now it's more like, well, let's pay attention. Let's just like, how do you feel about Mexico in general? Fundamentally, politically, monetarily, as far as their policy. How do you feel about that? Do you want to be a buyer of peso or not? And then the next thing is, then you got to time it around here. But let's just say if the U.S. continues its policy and we have sort of the second wave of a stock market decline, which is based not necessarily on the new terminal rate and no velocity to the new terminal rate, which is changing a valuation model based on I, but instead future cash flows, then the dollar can remain strong for quite some time, and it may not necessarily be the best opportunity to be selling this pair when this wants to rise, even if you want this to rise. But I'll tell you, there's times in here, like this move here, which is a big move, by the way. That's a huge move. There are many periods during that down move in which the US dollar was strong, but the peso was even stronger. One reason why is the economy is very much related to the U.S. economy. The second one is, the Bank of Mexico seems to have done a really good job through COVID. And third, hey man, that's 6% yield and rising. Okay, that's 6+% yield and rising is very attractive to those trying to, let's say, hedge inflation in the United States. Okay. So, for example, your stock portfolio might be facing, 8.6% inflation in your valuation model, but a little bit of peso with a little bit of leverage can help you easily beat that. Okay? So it could be a useful tool, but you got to time it right. Whoa. Zip over to Forex.Today. Okay, cool. Okay. GDP out of the UK. One of these things is you can break down the numbers. Actually download this, break down the numbers, and you'll find a relationship to the value of the currency and its economy. And I've been talking about it for weeks and weeks and weeks now in the live trading groups, whether it's the day trading group or the swing trading group at FX Bootcamp. And so you can just you can get the GDP data and go immediately to the column that directly impacts the value of the Great British Pound. And you're like, makes sense. Okay. Some nice news in Asia to keep things floating. More Great British Pound news tomorrow. Unemployment, for example. And the Bank of England expects unemployment to go up. Pay attention to that. That's not good for the UK. PPI expect to be above 10, which could add some more US dollar strength if that number is high. Okay. Retail sales on Wednesday, huge, followed by FOMC, huge. So what I did is I'm not going to do a morning session on Wednesday. I'm going to do an afternoon session on Wednesday. You guys want to meet and do FOMC together? Yeah. Well, there you go, yo. Cool. Well, that's the plan, Stan. Later in Asia, Kiwi GDP. Once again, we're going to break it down and look at GDP and look at the exact numbers that will impact the value of the currency. Okay, it's pretty easy. You have to think about it. Well, what is GDP? GDP is equal to consumer spending, business spending, and government spending. Which of these directly impacts the value of the currency? None of them. It's all domestic. So we have to then say, well, what about spending by foreigners? Okay? Consumers, businesses, government, foreigners. That's what we need to know. So that's all in the GDP because that's what GDP is. So break it down. Okay? Later that day, X minus M for Japan. Okay? Aussie jobs report, great scalp. Probably move 100 pips and then come back 100 pips. Thursday. Swiss National Bank, that'll be interesting. Maybe they don't need to have interest rates so negative if Europe has raised and is going to continue raising, or I should say will raise. But maybe they don't, because there's a big difference, right? The Swiss National Bank is going to make decisions by what the ECB is doing. What has the ECB done? Less negative rates in the near future and the end of quantitative easing. Is that the same as the Fed? No, the Fed's doing quantitative tightening. So you might say, well, isn't the end of quantitative easing the same? No. Yes, they are not buying new bonds. However, when their old bonds mature, the bonds that are sitting on their balance sheet, when they mature and die and go away, the ECB is going to go back into the open market and replace them with new bonds. So they're still buying bonds, but just significantly less, where the Fed is actually selling bonds, everything they got, right? So anyways, so Swiss National Bank is going to make decisions about based on what the ECB is doing. And so maybe the rumor is they move this up to only negative 0.5. Well, we'll see. And that will directly impact the value of the Swiss bank. Okay, Bank of England interest rate decision on Thursday. And their monetary policy summary is well worth reading. This is forward guidance. And then this is backward guidance. Okay, very, very important stuff. Once again, Bank of Japan, same thing. Okay, we want updates on their economy, on their exports, on their imports, and on their YCC. They're going to say some of those, but probably not all of it. And then Friday, I don't know. By Friday, I think we're just going to be exhausted. Over the weekend, or let's say on the Sunday Open, we're going to have interest rate decision out of China, and it'd be interesting if they do something that is stimulus focused. They need to support their economy, and we'll see if they cut, for example, or do some other thing that would help them. And that's Forex.Today. We did Bitcoin, gold, oil, dollar pairs, yen pairs, exotics, and then we've gone through the calendar for the week. It's going to be a great week, like unbelievable back to back awesomeness. So I'd like to thank you for being part of this awesomeness with me. And I will leave you to it. It's going to be a great day. Watch that stock market. Watch Bitcoin. I'm going to be watching oil as well. Those are all going to be leading indicators to dollar strength and weakness or yen strength and weakness. And other than that, I think that's all there is. So please click the like button. And I implore you, if you're trying to improve your foreign exchange trading and your understanding of how it all works, you want to open the clock and start looking at some of the gears to figure out how this complicated machine works, join FX Bootcamp. And there's probably 50 people out of the 100 watching this live that are already members and that would easily recommend it, because I know our group is awesome. I know it's good in so many ways beyond technical and fundamental analysis. It makes the world a better place, in my humble opinion. So peace on earth, may the pips be with you, may our profits be above average.